Hello guys, and welcome to the magical world of creating your own websites. So we've just set up our WAMP server, everything's good, and to finalise any troubleshooting problems, what we need to do is check here that it says the server is online. If it doesn't, click and you just left click on that, and then you're going to click put online. Otherwise you won't be able to see your local host server later on when we come to go on our browser and look in our web host. So what we're going to do now is open up our text editing software. You can do this in Notepad, InType, or Dreamweaver, but I'd strongly recommend Dreamweaver because I'm going to be building everything in here. But everything can be done in any other text editing program, and I will be supplying the source files in a zip folder on my website once this is finished. So right now I'm doing a right click, run as administrator, just waiting for it to load, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty. First thing we're going to need to do to actually build our site is create a root directory. So in your local disk C, under your WAMP, under your www, you're going to find all, you won't have as many as me because these are all my previous projects, but you're going to have a space where you can create a folder, and in here we're going to create the folder that's going to be the source folder for our site. So our site's going to be called GFX Portfolio. GFX Port. I'm just going to call it GFX Port. And in there we're going to create a few subfolders, and these subfolders are going to be responsible for our images, our scripts, our includes, and our JavaScript. So our first one's going to be the images folder, where all of our images will be sent to. Our second one's going to be called includes. This is where our PHP includes are going to be saved to, and you'll see what I mean by those later. Our next folder is going to be called scripts, and these are actually going to be our PHP scripts that talk to the server. And our last one is going to be JS, which is our JavaScript, and what JavaScript does is allows us to perform some fancy functions. And now once we've got those, and Dreamweaver finally opens, which mine still hasn't, so I'm going to run it again, we'll be able to actually get into the creation of our server setup on Dreamweaver. So while I wait for that to load, I'm going to pause the video. Right, so now we finally have Dreamweaver open. What we need to do now is select PHP. The reason why we're writing our HTML in PHP is because PHP, the PHP language, is capable to pass both PHP and HTML and JavaScript and pretty much any other language that you throw at it. So PHP is a really powerful server-side language, which it's passed only by the server and it's not visible to users. And I'll give you an example of this in a minute. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come up to site, and we're going to do new site, and we're going to call this GFX port. And the site directory for this site is going to be, from our desktop we'll go to computer, local disk, WAMP, www, and we'll come all the way down to GFX port, and we'll do select. And now we have our local site folder is set to C, WAMP, www, GFX port. And we're going to set a local testing server to be a local /network. The server folder is going to be server folder? Yeah, sorry. The server folder is going to be GFX port, and we're going to call the server GFX ports. And then we're just going to do save, and that's going to be our testing server. Right, so after clicking save, we have our site, as you can see in our site panel. And what we can do with this is where if you was connected to an FTP, you could do the arrow and it would update all the files inside of the site folder, and then that will allow you to have a full update on your FTP and be able to update it live as it runs. So one second guys, I've got text. So we defined our site, and now we're in our code view. What we're going to do with this is we're going to do file, and we're going to come to save as, and we're going to call this index.php, and we're going to do the save as type, and we're going to set it to all files. and we'll do save. So now inside of our root folder we have an index.php file. Sorry, I'm just going to change it to index because it's already got it's got the file extension there. It doesn't. Sorry, it doesn't need to be there. So we have our PHP file, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you an example. If I type in the body of my document and I just put hello there, this is the tutorial to make your own site, and I do a file save, and then I come to my web browser and I go to localhost. I will see my WAMP server, and I come down to GF export, and inside of my index I'll get hello there, this is the tutorial to make your own site. Now if I wanted to do that in PHP, you'd come above your document, or you could do it inside of your body as well if you wanted to. Actually, we'll echo it in the body, and we're going to do open our PHP, and PHP tags look like this. They're like a little arrow that points to the left, question mark, PHP, and then at the end of it you have a question mark and an arrow that points to the right. And inside of that, if I put in quotation marks, hello there, this is a test, and then you have in PHP you always have to put a semicolon at the end of pretty much every line, otherwise the parser doesn't read properly. Actually, I don't think you do need to in this case because you haven't done the echo function. And if you do that and you do a refresh, there'll be nothing there. And the reason why that is because PHP can only present text when you have either put echo, or I think it is, oh, what's the other one? There's echo and I think it's print is the other one. Normally you use echo to carry out the function. So what we're going to do now, we will add echo in front of that, and now it says echo quotation mark hello there, this is a test quotation mark, and then after the quotation mark we're just going to put a semicolon, and we're going to save it again, and in our browser we'll get hello there, this is a test. And that's because the echo has told the PHP to write this to the browser after we have completed the syntax check. After the server has sent a request, it will present this because that's what the echo function tells it to do. So we've got 2.5 minutes left, and I just have to pause the video because I've got another thing. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we're going to completely delete this echo statement now. I just wanted to show you how PHP is dealt with inside of HTML tags. So basically what's going on in here is we have a doc type, and each doc type can perform different functions, I think. I'm not a huge expert on this, but I think sometimes if you don't have the correct doc type in and you try to specify some sort of script that doc type doesn't actually have declared towards it, then when you actually come to execute your code, that script may not be executed because it's not supported by that doc type frame. I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but I've had a problem in the past where when I changed the doc type it fixed my problem, so that's what I'm guessing the resolution caused. So let's get on to the next part now. At the start of every page you're going to want to title it, and that can be seen present within the title tags. And at the moment you can see up here in the top of your bar it says untitled document. What we're going to do to change that is we're going to change this to be GFX, well no, I'm just going to call it homepage. I haven't decided a name for it yet, so it's just going to be called homepage for now. And when we save that and we refresh our page, the content goes, and then we just have homepage at the top. Now, what I want to do is introduce you to div tags. What a div tag is it's an inline container, and a div tag can contain many other objects, such as layout objects, such as images, text, sound, video. It can contain all of that, and then it can also contain other divs. So you can have a div within a div within a div to get like really sort of complex web layouts. You'll understand as we go along, but for now I'm keeping it sort of like simple. and we're just going to build the basics of our site. So you're always going to want a main wrapper div which you can use to censor the content of the page. So what this is going to be is a div with the ID that's equals to double quotes, and we're going to call it main wrapper, and then we're going to close the div by putting each tag is opened by a left arrow and it's closed by a right arrow, and then each div is ended by doing a open arrow / div. So as you can see here, the div is opened on line 10 and it's closed on line 12. And to make sure we know what this is later, because when your code gets quite long, it's easy to lose track of what's what. So we're going to do arrow, exclamation mark, dash dash, and that starts a comment, and the comment's going to say end main wrapper, dash dash, arrow. So now we have sort of a comment to say where our main wrapper starts and where our main wrapper ends. Inside of the main wrapper, we're going to have a div with the ID that's equal to header, and we're going to end that div as well. And we're going to give a comment end header, and then we're going to have a div ID that's equal to content. We're going to close that, and we're going to go end content, and then we're going to have a div ID that's equals to footer. Now, I've already made a mistake, and I was going to leave it as an intentional mistake and ask you guys later to see if you could solve the problem for it, but instead I'm going to show you how to do it now. Basically, when you have a footer that's contained inside the main wrapper, you're going to get a margin at the bottom, because the main wrapper will always have a default margin at the bottom, because it will contain every element that's inside it. So if it's not high enough for the browser, the footer will appear to not be stuck at the bottom because the height of the main wrapper isn't high enough, and therefore the footer may look like it's floating, and it might look like it's got a horrible white margin on it, and it just looks so unclean and non-professional if you have a dark coloured sort of background to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Control X to cut that out. We're going to tab down. We're going to enter down 2 lines. We're just going to paste the footer there, and we're going to line it back up with the others, just so it looks neat. And that's the basic layout for the structure of our page. And I best end this because it's getting a bit long. So I'll see you in part 3.